Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 37 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous episode, uploaded only just yesterday at the USA Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That was a very crucial race for Sergio Perez, for our team as well, to bounce back a little bit and take the advantage we could get versus Sebastian Vettel. And now we've got the Mexican Grand Prix. Perez's home race, and in honor of it being his home race, and seeing as Perez has pretty much carried the team for most of this season, he is the lead driver right now in the championship, in a championship fight, I thought we would give him and the team a special one-off livery for the Mexican Grand Prix, just to kind of celebrate the fact that, Perez has been so good for us in this team, and it will maybe try and energize him even further for this race in front of his home crowd. We've got a splattered Mexican flag on the top of the chassis and on the engine cover that blends in and kind of works with the original livery, of course, you can see. And then on the side of the chassis and the halo as well, we've got some Day of the Dead style skull motifs and patterns, and also a specific sponsor change on the front wing that you may notice as well. I am really happy with how it's come out. It's kind of subtle in a way, because also from the front end, it doesn't actually look too different, and it's only from the side profile that it looks drastically different. So I really like that contrast and difference that you get from the front and to the side. And yeah, as I said, hopefully, a special livery like this will energize him even more. I mean, we saw for sure at the start of that USA Grand Prix how much better Perez was, and back to his old self maybe, and he's going to need that because he still needs to close the gap to Vettel with still a few points in it between himself and Sebastian. He's still got quite a low focus despite getting that podium as well, 58 focus. We just boosted his awareness though with that HQ facility event. We could either minus the racecraft or the awareness. I thought his racecraft was already pretty high, 91. I was correct, so his awareness is so much higher now, so that's hopefully going to allow him to maybe just avoid any issues. Mexico can be quite a ferocious Grand Prix, like Italy, like Spa. It is a slipstream fest, which means the AI can be side by side for multiple laps. There could be, a lot of tangling, so hopefully that awareness allows him to get around that and navigate that. And, the other stats he's got are still very, very high. I'm expecting a strong qualifying from him, hopefully, in front of his home crowd. But, yeah, like I said, there is still some points to make up to Sebastian Vettel, but not as much as, before. I think USA was probably the most ideal Grand Prix. The only way it could have been better is if he actually managed to hang on to the race win versus Bottas, because then he would have only been a couple of 3-4 points behind Vettel, rather than, I think it's 9 points at the moment. But that's still a massive job considering where we were after the Japanese Grand Prix, where he looked to be at Suzuka, very much switched it around. I joked about it. Maybe he listened and heard us criticize him a little bit at Suzuka and pulled it through. But unfortunately, right now, the pattern is still the same. We are plateauing in the R&D graph, and our rivals are pulling more time on us. Mercedes now are back to the top of the table in terms of the R&D chart, and they're pulling away a little bit with Ferrari as well, making upgrades. And, we're still waiting on that one ultimate drag reduction update. Once that comes in, that's going to be a massive booster. But then also at the same time, we can't make further upgrades maybe, because we need to be wary of there still could be a regulation change. We need to save up for that as well in case that happens. And then also we need to save R&D points for the winter break. That winter period is very, very crucial to get upgrades in a rapid amount of time. So it's a fine balancing act, and it's going to be, I think, tough. It's going to be tough to stay on top of things in terms of the out-and-out race pace. But the only good saving grace is our main rivals, Aston Martin. They're even worse than us, in a worse position. But of course, the AI make a massive difference. You as a driver can make a massive difference, and we've seen that with Vettel and Perez still performing at the very top of the grid, despite being in cars now that are technically, on paper, a little bit lower down the order. Going through the motions, though, in Q1, we make it through P14, though. A little bit of time to find, about 6 cents to find to Sergio Perez, and Perez 5 tenths down, 5.5 to Lewis Hamilton. So we'll see how it progresses into Q2. If that is the true pace that Perez is showing of the car, Vettel down there in P13 with me, but Stroll there, it could be quite close between us, Aston Martin and our team, but both teams could be lower down than we want to, so we're going to have to see. Merc looks strong around here. Ferrari look good as well. I expect McLaren to also be pretty handy. Obviously, they've been pretty good in a straight line so far this season, so let's just see what we can do now this second qualifying session, trying to make it through to the top 10 shootout. P9 there, Perez in P10, and we just about make it through. Perez went for another run. He was not comfortable. I risked it all and didn't go out for another run, and we just made it through. But Sebastian Vettel has not made it through for the second time in a row now. He is knocked out in Q2, P13 and P14 for the two Aston Martins, showing that maybe now the cracks are starting to show for Aston Martin. Maybe in the race, it's a different story, because Vettel seems to always come back through in the races, but in qualifying, you're seeing finally that Aston Martin being bottlenecked by their own car, and that is, truly kind of almost where the car is. Alpine are quicker than them these days, and, to be fair, we only just made it through. Russell could have easily knocked us out, so we're through. Perez P4, though, he's showing so much better pace. Again, he's still 5/10 ahead of us, and that's good enough to get him up into P4. It's looking mighty close at the top of that top 10 shootout, so let's see what it can be. Obviously, the home crowd, just like it does at Silverstone for myself and Lewis Hamilton in real life, could give him some extra energy. Let's see. Our first run is pretty piss poor. P9 there. We are 1.7 off, and the man on provisional pole, sorry, is Sergio Perez. Oh my, I was just saying about him pulling some energy from the home ground. How has he done that? He's a couple of tenths faster than P2. That is mental. We are 1.7 seconds slower than our teammate. Admittedly, our first run was pretty poor, like I said. The sun has gone away. The clouds are out. It's a bit of a colder second run now here around Mexico, but the understeer is kicking in a little bit. We lose a bit of time. Only 3/10 up now as we enter the heart of Sector 2, into the last sector, though, into the stadium section. 5.5/10. It's kind of yo-yoing about as we're losing time as we go through. There's so much understeer in this car right now. We almost hit the wall, and we're down to only 3/10 gained across the line. And it's no improvement. We're P9 still, and we are pretty much 1.4 seconds slower than our teammate in the same car, Sergio Perez, and he has got pole position for his home Grand Prix by 6.7 tenths. That is unbelievable. Sergio Perez, take a bow. I'm very happy for him, to be fair, because that's massive for him in the race. From pole, he has a good chance now of winning the race in front of his home fans in a special home GP livery for him, where his rival Sebastian Vettel is out of Q2. This is massive. This is a huge turn up for the books for Checo. Let's go to the grid. Let's go to the race. This could be a very fun one here for the home fans.
Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what are the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? At 2,285 metres above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners make up a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, and you can expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking too into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, Valtteri Bottas, and Hamilton. The owner driver, Russell, Ocon, and Carlos Sainz. They've taken a grid penalty. Vettel, Stroll, Pierre Gasly, and Giovinazzi. Tsunoda, Ricciardo. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Nicholas Latifi and Guan Yu Zhou. Verstappen. They've taken a grid penalty. Mazepin, Eilert, and Mick Schumacher. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So no grid penalties for Sergio Perez, thankfully, so he is still on pole position. We have gained 2 positions up to P7, thanks to some penalties ahead of us, though. And Vettel now is in P11, that means. So he's been helped out again. Not quite as much as USA, where he jumped up to like P7 on the grid, but he's still a little bit closer now to those points-paying positions. Vettel, very much, I would say, his race now is on damage limitation mode, seeing his main rival on pole position, and by some margin. Like, I still can't believe what we just witnessed there in Q3. That was unreal, alien-like performance there from our teammate. And, like I said, the home crowd, it can do wonders for you, and especially in a special home GP livery as well. But in terms of the race strategy, then Mexico, thankfully, I always enjoy coming here. It's a 2-stop either way, nice and aggressive, slipstreaming obviously down the main straight. It's going to be a really fun race out there. And, let's try and aim. Let's try and aim for the podium again and try and join our teammate on the podium, hopefully. You've got to say, for him, being that quick in qualifying on pole, he is going to aim for nothing but the race win here. It's all set up for him today. So let's find out if it's going to be that fairy tale ending for our teammate. Here it is, home race, 5 red lights to the Mexican Grand Prix. The lights are out and we are underway, and it's a pretty decent start versus Valtteri Bottas, but everyone actually around us gets a good getaway. Look how many cars there are bunched up together, but the main focal point, the man from pole position, is in the lead, and he's comfortably in the lead into turn 1. Look how many cars there are. It's 4 wide ahead, and Russell diving down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. We go around the outside of Fernando Alonso and Valtteri Bottas. Those two ahead, still fighting the two Brits. Russell ahead of Hamilton in the Alpine. It's still Perez from Leclerc. Norris P3. Hamilton trying to go around the outside of George Russell, and we're just about nipping ahead and staying ahead of Bottas, who is right on my heels, and Hamilton has successfully done Russell round the outside. The Alpine's down to P5, but we've done well to overtake Bottas and Alonso there, because we got caught up a lot in the first few turns, but Perez leads the way. Vettel is up into P8, so Sebastian Vettel's made a cracking start in the Aston Martin to gain 3 positions on the opening lap. Lap number 4 though, here we go. Perez still leads the way then, 4 laps in. Leclerc second, and Norris, he was P3, but he's slow. The McLaren slow into the stadium section. He's very awkwardly parked it ahead of Hamilton there for a second. He's looking for a place to park up and retire, I think, because, yeah, Lando Norris, what a shame for him today at Mexico, was P3, could have been on to fight for the win, maybe, you'd think, with the pace of the McLaren. So everyone then behind him gains 1 free position. Vettel up into P7 now. He always comes back through in these races, no matter how poor the Aston's been in qualifying as of late. Russell going for a move for Hamilton, but Leclerc, more importantly, is going for a move on Perez, and he sold him the dummy. Leclerc with a switchback from left to right. What a move by the man in the Ferrari. Perez, though, comes back at him. It's a drag race. The two are still side by side, but the Ferrari has the overspeed. He has the DRS, and Leclerc's into the lead as we now send one down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. He's been overtaken by Russell. He's been overtaken by us, and Hamilton, he's yellow flags. I think Hamilton's got an issue. Hamilton's retired. The second we overtook him, he could hack it, and the safety car is out because of that, because Hamilton parks up in a very awkward position on circuit there. The full course safety car is out. But that was so weird. He retired the second I overtook him. But this is why then maybe Russell got past him, because already the issues in the car were coming through, and the Alpine's up into P3 there. So Russell flying high right now for Alpine as Leclerc finished off the move, overtook Perez for the race lead. So is it going to happen 2 times down a row? Is Perez's race win going to be stolen away from him by someone else? As Hamilton there, it's very weird. The second I overtook him, his engine went pop and he had to retire. So a shame for Hamilton there, and his pretty mediocre season continues in the Silver Arrow. But now Perez is in, Leclerc is in under the safety car. I have stayed out with Russell, Bottas, Vettel, Alonso, everyone stayed out under the safety car. The only 2 people that have pit are Leclerc and Perez. Now that may end up being a decisive decision. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, because I think we could go a little bit longer in this race now due to the safety car. But here we go then on the restart. We're in P2 now. Russell leads this Grand Prix in the Alpine, but we have got a great run. Surely we have to go for the move for the race lead here. Russell goes defensive. Can we go to the outside? Russell really goes late on the brakes and kind of actually messes up my brake point, and we go way too deep. Russell going so late on the brakes really messed up my flow. I thought we were going to for sure have him around the outside, and instead I went so wide to the point where we were to defend against Bottas and just about keep the car within the white line. So we maintain P2, and Russell is actually looking pretty comfy for P1 right now, but that may change on lap 11 because we have the run, and this time I'm making no mistakes into turn 1. Russell is the one that makes a mistake. That is karma and a fine balance. That's literally what happened to me on that previous restart. We didn't lock up exactly like Russell, but that's exactly what happened. We went too wide into turn 1, and we weren't able to get that. This time, though, we have, and we're into the race lead. Meanwhile, Sergio Perez is down in P, 10 and 9. He's fighting for P9. Guan Yu Zhou in the Williams car is giving him a really surprisingly good fight. Leclerc is ahead of them both in P8, so Perez is in a net P2 position still, obviously, because those two were the race leaders. And oh, look at that camera angle behind them. Sainz and the two AlphaTauris going 3 wide. And also, hang on, Perez here, he's been unable to overtake the Williams car. This is exactly the opposite of what he needs. He needs to be clearing that Williams ASAP, because the Ferrari of Leclerc is 4 seconds up the road now. Perez, he's looking a bit slow. Don't tell me he's got a car issue. Don't tell me, because he's looking like the Williams car's dropped him. He's got some sort of issue in the car, because the AlphaTauri now goes for the move on the inside. Don't tell me this could be a disaster. There's not many fairy tale stories in Formula 1. It's a very cruel sport most of the time. It's not like football. Fairy tales don't have to happen often in F1, and this may just be another instance of that, because Perez is slow. He's into the pits. Oh, he must have damage. He must have got damage off Guan Yu Zhou or something or other, but Perez is in for a very early stop, lap 12. This is a disaster. What a shame for Perez. This is so upsetting. He was on pole by so much. One-off livery, home fans, everything was set up for him, but here he is making a pit stop, and he's down to P20, which is last place right now in this Grand Prix, because we've had 2 DNFs. So Perez is last place right now, lap 12. That is just so upsetting. And his rival, Sebastian Vettel, is in P3. This race and scenario has just been turned on its head. You thought that Perez was going to gain a load of points on Vettel. Well, now it's looking very, very different. Lap number 13, then. It's still early days. About a third of this Grand Prix gone. We've had so much action so far. We are now in from the race lead. Russell had already pit the lap before. Vettel continues on for one more lap, such as is Aston Martin's very, aggressive, conservative strategy. They seem to always stretch the first stint, go long on the second one, and, well, Strolls and hard tyres. So Aston Martin, they're trying the one stop. I wouldn't be surprised if Vettel's onto a set of hard tyres. So Aston Martin are trying a one stop to try and maybe vie for the race win even, because I've committed to the two stop. I think it's the quicker way to go for ourselves personally. So we're on the medium tyre. We're going to go on the soft compound at the end of this race. Russell has re-overtaken us, but that was to be expected with the undercut. But we now have fresher tyres. He's on the softs as well. So he's wasting those softs, I think, stuck in this traffic, to be honest, in my opinion. So we're in a better position. But now this is interesting, because legitimately I think Aston Martin and Vettel could be in the play for the race win, because Vettel was right behind us, only a couple of seconds, and he's on the one stop as we nip down the inside of the Williams of Mazepin to try and keep on the tail of Russell. But yeah, this is now a little bit of a worry, to be honest, for our team in terms of for Perez's sake. Obviously, we'll have to see. The tyre wear is, historically quite bad around Mexico, so the hard tyres, that could be a long way to go for the Aston Martins, but they've been very good on their tyre wear, especially in the hands of Vettel, as now we've got Ricciardo ahead of us going a move on Tsunoda that's going to hold up Russell, and we're going to try and get a move done in the stadium section round the outside. Yes, that's worked for us. We've used the fact that these two ahead of us have boxed Russell in. Tsunoda is so slow on that worn set of mediums, and he may be coming in actually for a pit stop, wouldn't be surprised. And so we're up into P6. Yeah, Tsunoda comes in, so that's how bad the tyre was feeling for Tsunoda on those mediums. 14 laps old, so just kind of reminds you how bad the tyre wear is around Mexico. But Ricciardo now should be a sitting duck for us maybe on the outside. No, Ricciardo, parks the car very aggressively, brake checks me a little bit actually on the exit of that corner, and maintains track position. Fair play. So we'll have to go again and try and make an overtake later on the next lap, hopefully lap 16. So at the moment then, in the lead, I believe it's Leclerc, Sainz in second, Ricciardo third, we're in P4. To be fair, actually, I forgot about the Ferraris. As we go for a move on Ricciardo, he squeezes us to the right-hand side, but no bother. We've got DRS. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari. I actually forgot about the Ferrari car, so sure, Aston Martin may have a chance of going for the win with the one stop, but look how far up the road Leclerc is. 18 seconds, to Sainz. We could catch Carlos Sainz. We can't catch Leclerc. Remember, unlike Perez, he made that early stop under the safety car and has not had issues. he actually is looking very, very good. So Vettel may have an outside chance of a podium, but I actually completely forgot about Leclerc. I think Leclerc, unless something happens to him, he's got that race lead nailed down. Like, 12 seconds the gap to Sainz. That's massive for him. But yeah, Vettel P8. Perez, actually, he's P10. Fair play to Perez. He's had some really good pace, Perez has. But remember, of course, he's still got to make another pit stop, whereas Vettel does not. Vettel's going to the end. So Perez, he's up into P9 now. He's not even that far down the road from Vettel, but he has to make an extra pit stop. Vettel does not. So it may look slightly better for Perez right now, all the way from last place to P9. He's showing some good pace on the soft compound tyre. But yeah, that extra pit stop is just going to be such a killer for him. But yeah, at the moment then, in terms of our race, we are pulling away from Russell, only slightly though, but we're both catching Carlos Sainz. The gap is now 4.2, and we're reeling him in slowly but surely, hopefully. But Leclerc is just maintaining that gap, doing what he needs to do in P1 with 12 seconds ahead of his teammate. And speaking of his teammate, there we are. We're now catching 1.6, but the safety car is out for the second time now, because Tsunoda is out the Grand Prix. We're in now for the pit stop under the safety car with Carlos Sainz. Leclerc had pit just a lap or two earlier before this safety car has come out, so he's behind us already in P3 then, but the safety car is going to bunch us up all through, so that's going to be, well, very exciting news for, well, Vettel, Perez, because Vettel actually overtakes us. Remember, Vettel's not pitting. Vettel is on hards to the end, so Vettel is up into P2. This, well, it's working out and kind of not working out, because Perez now gets to have a free pit stop under the safety car. He's going to change onto a set of, it looks like medium tyres, yellow wall, so he's going to the end now. I'm going to the end as well, and Perez is going to be filtering out into P10, it looks like, P11. So Perez is P11. The difference, obviously, is bunching up because of the safety car, so that's good news for him. So Perez could still get some good points in this race with the pace he's shown in the car, bunched up with P11. You got to say that at least the next 4 cars to Fernando Alonso, Perez should be looking to overtake them. But on the flip side, it's also bad because the safety car's bunching us up, and Vettel and Stroll are in P2 and 3. Vettel could now go for the race win somehow if he gets a good enough run on Leclerc. And to be honest, now our responsibility, being P4, seeing both Aston Martin cars ahead of us, our responsibility in terms of for the team and for Perez, we've got to try and do all we can do now to try and go for the race win. Being a good teammate to Perez is trying to get a win here and get points off Vettel. So here we go on the restart. Green flag. Leclerc defensive against Vettel. Vettel on the inside though. Vettel is going for the race lead. We have to overtake Stroll and we have to overtake Leclerc. And Leclerc is a bit slow into turn 1, into turn 2. The sparks coming off the back of the Aston Martin car as we follow him through into P2. Vettel leads, but we are into P2. We've made that crucial overtake, but now we need to do the last bit of the job and overtake Vettel and help Perez take points off Vettel and limit the damage for Checo. Here we go on the outside. Vettel defensive into turn 1. No DRS. This is a pure natural overtake and we've done it round the outside. Obviously, we're on fresher mediums. He's on worn out hard tyres and we're up into the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. So like I said, the best thing we can do now as a good teammate to Perez is just go out there and win this race now. He's already climbed up into P8 as we watch on with the 2 Ferraris having an absolute ding-dong battle here. The 2 Scuderia in the middle of Sector 2. It's very hard to go side by side there, but those 2 are making it work. They're still going out into the stadium section. Look at Perez there with the dive bomb on Russell, I think that is, and he's up into P8. Perez making good progress. He can see Vettel up the road. There's many cars in between him, but he can see Vettel. Is there still a chance for Perez to go through and overtake Vettel? And there might be, because Vettel's in. Oh, even later drama here in the last part of the race. Vettel's pit. Why is he pit? Has he got damage? I think he does, as he has to change his front wing. He goes on to soft compound tyre, but Vettel, he's got damage. I think he got caught up with the Ferraris, because look at the 3 wide move there. Sorry, what is going on? Look at the action here. here, and Alonso and the Ferrari make contact. Sainz has got damage now, and so Alonso is trying to steal the podium away from the Ferraris. Alonso round the outside of Leclerc. Sainz in P2 with damage though, and it's that kind of, aggressive moves that made me think, I think Vettel surely must have got damage on the Ferraris, because those Ferraris seem to don't care. They don't care at all. They're going so aggressive to the point where now Sainz has compromised his own race there in P2, so he'll be pitting. So it's going to be, well, myself in P1, Alonso maybe P2 or Leclerc P2. It's going to be Leclerc in P2 right now, and Perez goes for the move on lap 29 now, 2 laps later into the stadium section. He's going to be up into P5 then, ahead of the lead Aston Martin of Lance Stroll, and all of a sudden everything's changed once again. Now, it's looking gravy for our team, looking great for Perez because he's P5, Vettel's out the points. It's looking amazing for Perez once again in terms of the championship, and yellow flags behind, and look at the minimap, the Ferrari's lost it. Leclerc, is he retiring from the Grand Prix because the third safety car's come out? 3 safety cars in one race here around Mexico. It's all kicking off, and something happened with Leclerc. He's down to P4. I don't think he's out of the Grand Prix, but I think he may have span, I think he may have, in classic Ferrari fashion. Oh, my God, Leclerc. A very unfortunate spin there. I think the tyre wear of the curb or whatever, and he's spun into the wall, broken his front wing. He's wobbling along, so he's going to have to pit in then. So that's another free position then for Sergio Perez. Let's look at an onboard though. Leclerc was actually catching us, and he gets on the curb. Too much on the curb, but you can see how quickly Leclerc caught me. In like 2-3 seconds, he bridged a 3-second gap. That's how slow I am, really, in reality, around Mexico compared to Leclerc, compared to Perez. So it's kind of a miracle right now. We're somehow holding our way through in the lead, and we've only got 2 laps here. Now, I'm not going to lie, we're P1, Alonso's in P2 and Bottas P3. I think I've got the pace to keep those 2 behind. Perez, though, surely he has some lightning pace. He showed it in qualifying. Now, I'm not going to lie, I would not mind if there's a clean way, emphasis on clean way to do it, I would not mind holding Bottas and Alonso up and somehow trying to slip Perez through into P1 and get a 1-2 for the team. He can take the home victory just for the sake of, it would be such an amazing story, especially off the race he's had so far, going down to last place at one point in the race, and now he's sitting there pretty in P4. I wouldn't mind doing that, but the emphasis has to be on, I'm not going to do anything dodgy. I want it to be a clean transition, so it's kind of on Perez, his onus. Perez needs to actively overtake Alonso and Bottas and then allow the kind of, very easy swap around. But if he can do that, I wouldn't mind doing that for the sake of the team, for the sake of him versus Vettel in the championship. But we've only got 2 racing laps to go, so at the same time, if Perez can't do it, I will just go and try and walk off into the distance to get this win, to get P1 for the team. Here we go, on the race restart. Tried to be a bit clever there and catch Alonso napping. We kind of half did that, but Alonso's got such a good exit. He's in the toe, the main straight so long, it doesn't even matter really, as he's able to pull alongside us. We're going to go very defensive and try and squeeze him and push him wide to try and slow him up a little bit along with Valtteri Bottas. But as I said, the focus needs to be on Perez. He needs to actively go out and overtake and make a dive and, go and overtake these 2. Vettel is in P7, so even this third safety car has helped out Vettel because he was out the points before, remember. So he's up into P7, so even if Perez gets P4, it's still a great recovery, don't get me wrong, from last place, but Vettel being P7 means that his P4 means a little bit less in terms of points for the championship. So both Perez and Vettel, to be fair to them, they've kind of balanced out on bad and good luck this race, so it's kind of equaled out in a way in terms of, the safety cars, the crashes and whatnot, and so they're kind of both just kind of in the middle of the points paying positions. But Vettel with the soft compound tyre going for the move on Russell. This could be crucial, remember, for the championship. Every little point could matter, and Vettel's into P6. He's only 2 cars behind Perez now, so this has already changed the dynamic already, and so even more so onto the last lap. I'm kind of hoping and praying somehow, Perez, mate, can you please pull through? I could let you win. You could win the race, but he's nowhere near me, and I just can't afford to do anything too drastic to slow these guys up. Alonso coming back at me. We're still maintaining P1. Ooh, a bit of a drift into turn 1, and we send Alonso wide, but we maintain retain P1 just about, but it's not looking likely. You know, the Perez does not look like he's overtaking Bottas and Alonso. He's on a medium compound. I don't know why. He should have gone onto the softs, really, I think, in my opinion, maybe at the end of the stint, but I don't think he maybe had any softs left. But you can see I'm trying anything to slow Alonso up, slow Bottas up. But in the end, Perez just not trying anything. And in the end, it's Alonso v Bottas, actually, is the box office fight there on the last lap. So now at this point, I've decided, okay, I'm forgetting it. I'm going to run away. We've got one last sector to go. I'm going to take home this race win. But look at this titanic strap going on between Alonso and Bottas on the last lap. Perez, though, he's got a good run. Oh, could Perez get P3? Could he get P3 late on into the stadium section? No, not quite, because Alonso actually ends up going for a move on Bottas. But here we go. The fanfares are out. The confetti's out in the stadium section. The home crowd are going to see a car with a Mexican flag on the side of it win the race. But it's not going to be the Mexican Sergio Perez, because we win the Mexican Grand Prix. Our third win of this season in the most, odd circumstances. A race I did not plan on winning whatsoever, but we've won it. P1, we've done it.
It's a performance to be proud of from our Mexico City Grand Prix winners. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, you know what they say, to finish first you have to finish. And that fact was clear today, with lots of retirements having a big effect on the outcome of the race. As a driver, you tend to keep reliability concerns to the back of your mind and just focus on what's in front of you. But for the teams, races like this can be very stressful.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
Well, there you go. We have got P1 for the third time this season. Bottas and Alonso join me on the podium. What could have been, I really honestly, hand on heart, would have let Perez win that one if he closed up and was anywhere near me. But in the end, he is in P4. Vettel got P6 and the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So in the end, as I said, both of them got their equal share of bad luck and good luck. Perez at one point was in last place, so the fact he recovered to P4 is amazing. Vettel at one point was down to P14, so the fact that he only lost 3 points in this race to Perez is actually a massive kudos to Vettel, but it's a massive kudos to Perez, the fact he even got any points on Vettel, because after that early second pit stop, I thought that was it and over for him, but he persevered. The home Grand Prix, the energy he got, maybe didn't take him to the win or the podium, but it definitely allowed him to come back from last place to P4, so good on him and fair play. But for us now, I'm not going to lie, let's talk about us for a second though. P1 here, the third win, we've got a couple of races to go, we're 14 points off Vettel. I've not really considered myself to be in the championship fight, very truthfully, at all in this season. But now, with, only a couple of races to go, I'll admit, 14 points though, do we have to actually consider ourselves in a late championship charge? Like, do we now actually, maybe start acting a bit selfish in the last few rounds and just going for it, no matter what Perez is doing? Because if we get enough points, enough races like this, we could make a late dark horse charge for the championship. Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. Because, 14 points, that's less points than Perez was behind Vettel 2 races ago, and he's pulled it back, so who knows? But guys, if you did enjoy that episode, then hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.